Sonia.elsie here. If you recognize this shirt, it's because I'm pre-filming videos today and did not really feel like changing a shirt. But for today's video, I'm going to be answering some advice questions that you guys sent in to me. As some of you guys know, I used to do some videos called Advice from Sonia or something, and I had this email account that you guys can email advice questions to, and that email has literally been taken over. I don't really know what happened, but there's been so much spam on it, so I'm really sorry if you sent me an advice question over there and it hasn't been answered. It's because of that. I literally don't know what's happened to that account, but I guess it's RIP dead. But anyways, I asked you guys on Instagram to leave me some advice questions, and that if you want to be anonymous that you could DM me some long advice questions. So today I'm going to be answering those advice questions, and I was asked a lot of them and I won't be able to answer all of them, but maybe I'll do like a part 2, or I'll keep doing these. And if your guys' questions aren't answered, please just maybe copy paste them and ask them again, and I will try to get to them eventually. So let's get started. So the first question is advice for how to know when it's right to get into a relationship, besides just really liking the person, but how to not jump into it too fast, if that makes sense. And I think that it's really just a good idea to gauge what the other person is feeling as well. Like, maybe, I feel like it's kind of weird to say like, oh, I'm jumping into it too fast, because it's different for every relationship, if that makes sense. You know, like, so maybe your parents from the outside will be like, oh, you're jumping into this relationship like too fast, like you're doing this too soon. But I think that it should be the couple's choice whether or not you're jumping into something too fast, or not just like outside people's decisions. So if you feel like it's jumping too fast, like it's just kind of a feeling you should have. It's not really like your parents are out here saying that, and you should talk to the other person about it. But if you don't feel like it's going too fast, if you feel like things are just progressing well and you're getting to know the person and like all of that stuff, like who cares what you do, who cares what other people think? I say that as long as you feel like it's right, then it should be. Also, for knowing when it's right to get into a relationship, I would say if the person treats you well, if they respect you, if they're not overly controlling or very insecure. I've had this problem in the past where a boy is really insecure, or girl, like whoever you're dating. I'm not trying to judge. I might just be saying boy because I've only dated boys, but where boys have been too just like protective, or I'm going out and they're really suspicious about it. Like, my current boyfriend has no problem with me going out, no problem with me like posting pictures of myself on social media that maybe like some cleavage is showing and all of that stuff. So I would say if they treat you right, if they respect you, if they respect your space, if they respect that you're another person, they respect your opinions, and you know, they just respect you in general, then that's when you know it's the right time. Advice for telling your family you're going to move across the country to California when you know they're going to be upset. I would say that you should tell them as soon as possible. It's better to just get it over with and let them have time to be upset about it or come to terms with it than to just wait it out. Like, if you tell them a couple days before you're moving, that's probably not going to go over very well. But if you tell them a few months before, or if you tell them right away, then they will just, you know, they will have time to think over it. Maybe at first they'll be upset. You should tell them your reasons why. You should be respectful. You should, you know, keep in mind their argument. You should keep in mind that they're probably going to miss you, and they're probably just saying things out of hurt, not because they hate you or they don't want you to follow your dreams. But yeah, I would say tell them as soon as possible. How do you deal with the hate on YouTube? Not stupid hate comments that say you're ugly or something like that, but ones that point out something you did wrong or something you shouldn't have done. IDK if you know what I mean, LOL. And I get hate comments like this constantly, all the time. Being someone who has made some vegan videos, as soon as you're not a perfect vegan, as soon as you're not maybe perfectly high carb, low fat, or perfectly skinny, people are going to comment on it and people are going to judge. And what I have to say to that is just, you can take it into consideration if it's constructive criticism. Like, it's always good if someone, you know, is saying like, hey, I really enjoy your videos, but I have a problem with you saying this or you doing this. Like, you don't necessarily have to cater to please that person, but you can keep what they're saying in mind. If it is just like a stupid, long, drawn-out hate comment, you can usually just, I would say, just delete it. Like, I delete a lot of hate comments. I know a lot of people don't like it when YouTubers delete hate comments, but I personally don't want to go onto my YouTube page and see a bunch of people like vegan policing me or just saying long, drawn-out, terrible things, if that makes sense. So yeah, I would say if it's constructive, keep it in mind. If it's something that's, you know, bashing your looks or bashing, you know, a part of your personality, or saying that, oh, you should have done this when obviously it's already happened and you can't do anything about it, then I would just say try to ignore it. Just don't let it get to you. If it really bothers you, delete it so that you all just have positivity on your feed. So yeah. How to move on from a guy who isn't interested / how to not care what other people think. Thanks, Sonia. I would say, for me, a lot of people think that I don't really care what anyone has to think, and that's not really true, though I like to think that I'm like, oh, I'm like a bad bitch, or like, oh, like your opinions don't get to me. Like, sometimes what people think of me does get to me. I am a person, like, if enough people are hating on me, then it does kind of get to me. But I would say that you just have to remember your intentions and who you really are. Like, if a bunch of people are saying you're a bitch or saying you're a terrible person, then just, you know, remember that it is their opinion, it is their perception of you, but deep inside, if you know, hey, I'm not a bitch, or hey, I'm trying my best, or hey, I'm doing this, and you're just thinking of me in this negative light, then, you know, that really just seems to help me. And with the how to move on from a guy part, I would say that it's kind of like their right, I guess, to not date you if they're not interested in you. Just like if you are not interested in a guy, you don't have to date them. If a guy is not interested in you, he does not owe you a relationship, owe you a date, owe you sex, owe you a kiss, owe you a compliment, whatever, any of that stuff. He doesn't really owe you. It is his right to not want to date you if he is not interested in you. And I would just say keep that in mind, you know, just remember that, hey, you know, this guy is not interested in me. That doesn't mean that I'm not beautiful. That doesn't mean that I'm not awesome. That doesn't mean that I have a terrible personality. It just means that specifically this guy is not interested in me. Maybe I'm not his type. Maybe he's not looking for a relationship. Maybe he has a girlfriend, whatever. Just like keep those things in mind. Remember that people can date whoever they want to date, and a relationship never will work out if one of the people in the relationship is not interested, if that makes sense. So if he's not interested, just move on, like appreciate that you had this lesson, and yeah, I'd say just find another boy. How do you stay vegan on a budget? I'm having trouble getting enough food being vegan because of the cost. What I would say is to definitely bulk shop. My boyfriend recently has been bulk shopping for vegan food, and he literally was talking about how some of his meals were like 50 cents and some of his meals were like, I don't know, just super inexpensive because he's been buying his food bulk. So I would say to do that. I would also say try and cut down on your eating out. If you do eat out a lot, then don't do that. Look for deals. Maybe shop at Winco, or if you have a Costco membership, Costco does have a lot of good like bulk rice, and like you can buy tons of soy milk at a time for way less expensive than if you were to buy like one soy milk at a time. But yes, definitely buy bulk. Hey Sonia, I'm really gonna open up, so if you use this on a video, please keep me anon. I struggle a lot with body image, always thinking I'm fat and gross. Being a vegan, this has proven even harder to deal with. I feel very insecure around guys. I would want to date a vegan guy, but I feel like they would expect a vegan girl to be hot and stuff. Anyway, can you give me any advice to try and overcome that? I know it's kind of silly, but it caused me a lot of anxiety. Thank you. So to this, what I would say is that if you are dating someone, or if you are seeing someone, and if they're really like a good person, they won't point out your weight or point out your insecurities. Like, my boyfriend right now has never brought up anything about my weight. He has never like said that I was too fat or anything like that. He always talks about how beautiful I am. He's constantly complimenting me. He constantly acts like I'm literally just like the most beautiful girl in the world, which, you know, it's very nice. It's very nice. And any nice, like, awesome guy that you would want to be in a relationship with won't care about your weight, if that makes sense. Like, if you start dating a guy, or you start seeing a guy and he starts commenting about your weight, or saying like, oh, you know, I really wish you were just skinnier, then literally leave that guy right away. He's trying to be manipulative. He's trying to take you down. Like, don't stand for that shit, you know? Like, don't. You don't deserve that. You literally don't deserve that. But I would say that I feel like this insecurity is mainly just in your own head. I feel like probably in real life you're very beautiful. There's probably a lot of guys that would love to date you, and that you should just remember that any guy who does want to date you or is interested in you definitely would not point out your weight at all. He wouldn't say anything, and you're probably hot AF. Like, don't listen to the haters. This is a really long question. So my best friend and I both have depression and anxiety, and I know you don't answer questions about that, but this is just about our friendship. We always help each other and give each other affirmation when we're feeling down, and I've always been there for her. About a month ago, I wasn't in my right mind and texted her because I needed help. Her tone was completely different, and she kept saying I needed to figure things out for myself. Again, I wasn't in my right mind and was a bitch to her. The worst thing I said was calling her a bitch once. Bad choice, I know, and would never do it normally. The next day, she didn't even look at me or sit with me at lunch, and I cried in the bathroom during the lunch and had a breakdown as soon as I got home. I told another friend what was happening to me, along with my best friend came to my house to comfort me. My best friend said she was sorry, and the next few days she talked to me, but it wasn't quite the same. I asked her after a few days if she was still upset with me, and she said I knew I was wrong and apologized over and over. She said she had other friends to talk to too, and basically that I was being too needy, so I apologized again, said I'd give her space, and asked if she would forgive me. She didn't answer, and she literally hasn't talked to me since. It's been almost a month. We were as close as you and Stella, and now she's completely ignoring me. I was really upset at first, but now I've decided that I did all I could, and if our friendship falls apart now, it was because she chose to let it. I've taken it as a sign to focus on other friendships and build those up, and I've gotten out of my slump and am being a lot more optimistic. However, it still upsets me that she's ignoring me and isn't willing to communicate. Should I try to talk to her? You don't have to include this in your video if you don't want to, but I would still really appreciate some advice. You're my favorite YouTuber ever, and I've always admired how you maintain such strong and positive relationships with your friends, so I feel like you could really help me. Oh, that is so sweet. But I would say that first, maybe you should put yourself in your friend's perspective and maybe just try and think, why is she upset at me? Like, why is she not wanting to talk to me? Because sometimes if you just focus on yourself and focus on your own world, you can kind of forget that other people have feelings as well, that other people are maybe dealing with stuff, and that other people are just like, you know, they have their own things that they're dealing with. Because I feel like for me, definitely, I've tried to be more empathetic, and when someone is rude to me, or when someone doesn't get back to me, or when someone blows me off, I try to just think from their perspective. What's going through their head? Like maybe something totally outside of what I could control is happening, and I usually try to think about that. But I would say that you should try and talk to her if you are really upset about it and just try and get that closure. Maybe if she's not responding to your text, you should try to reach out to her in real life. If she really isn't trying to talk to you like you try to talk to her in real life, you try to text her, you try to message her, and she just doesn't respond at all, I would say maybe give it some more time. She might text you in a few months, but also I would say, like, don't count on that. Like, don't wait on her, because if the friendship really just isn't working out, then I would say it's okay to find new friends. And I've actually experienced this. There was a girl that I was friends with for literally since first grade all the way to my junior year of high school. We were best friends, and she just totally ditched me one day because one of her guy friends called me a slut, and she was upset that I wasn't excited about that. You know, it was just really interesting situation. So she literally ditched me after I'd been friends with her for many, many years. The length of a friendship doesn't always determine like how good it is, you know? And maybe this friendship had run its course, and maybe she was dealing with her own like depression and anxiety. I know you mentioned in the beginning of this question that she also had depression and anxiety. Maybe just trying to help you with your own problems while she was also going through her problems was just like too much for her, but I obviously don't know the whole situation. So yeah, I would say that try to talk to her if you really want to, if you really want that closure, but if not, I would say just focus on yourself, you know, take a bath, sip some water, stay hydrated, like focus on new friendships, and just, you know, start over. Hello Sonia, I'd like to ask you how you got yourself to be so positive. I was inspired by your Musical.ly video because I found it so lovely how you were complimenting all the people instead of judging them. Okay, for this question I have kind of an interesting answer, because there was this one story that I read, and it really just changed my perspective on life, and it changed my perspective of people, but it's called, I'm pretty sure it's called The Egg Story or something, but basically the story was about this guy who like goes up to heaven and he meets like God or whatever, and God, like whatever being is up there, it's just like a random dude, tells him that he is going to be reincarnated into a girl in China in 400 BC. And so he was kind of talking about like, oh, like the Buddhists were right, like you do get reincarnated. And then he started to tell the guy the story of how you are every single person. And I know the story may not be true and it may not be whatever, but basically that every single person is you, and that every single person is like a reincarnation of like you, I guess. Like you're your best friend. You are your dad. Like you're just being reincarnated into all of these different people. Like all of these people are you, if that makes sense. And I'm gonna have to link the story down below to really explain this, but it really got me thinking that like if you really think about it, you can understand where a lot of people are coming from. Like everyone that I've ever been mad at or had beef with, I can honestly, once I take a step back, I can really understand where they're coming from. And once I realized that, I just didn't really feel the need to like judge other people and judge people for their decisions, because like I'm that person. Like I could have easily done that same thing when I was like 12 and making stupid Musical.lys on the internet. Like I did do stupid things. I used to be a young kid who was like I would literally take my dad's photo booth on his desktop computer and like lip sync to songs and just be super weird. But the only thing was, there wasn't a Musical.ly. Like if there was a Musical.ly, I probably would have posted those on Musical.ly and gotten a bunch of, I don't know, I just don't feel like people deserve as much hate as they get sometimes. And so when I was reacting to those Musical.lys, I just wanted to be really nice. And then again with that story, once you really take a step back and realize that the world doesn't revolve around you and that there are other people out there and that all of these people are you, I guess. I don't know. That story just really changed my perspective so much. This is such a rambly answer, I'm sorry. But it really changed my perspective on people and made me realize that, you know, everyone comes from different circumstances, but like you are every person that you've wronged. Like you say something mean to someone else, like that person is another reincarnation of you. Like I'm not saying that the story time is true or anything, but it really just changed my perspective, because like what if that's true? But of course I'm not always positive. I used to say it a little bit, but I don't really say that I only preach positivity now, because I definitely don't only preach positivity. Like, I am negative sometimes. I am a human. Like, sometimes I'll complain. Sometimes I will have something on my mind that I want to rant about. I'm not only about positivity, but I do try to be positive more than not positive, because I just feel like that's a better way to live, if that makes sense. Like, it's happier. You feel happier when you're more positive. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. I think that is all the advice questions I'm going to answer today. If you'd like to see more advice videos, hit me up. I definitely have a lot of advice questions that you guys are asking me, and I'd love to answer some more of them. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you need advice, definitely send me a message on Instagram or Twitter and say that you want to be mentioned in a video, and I will do some more advice videos coming up. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you watched the end of this video, comment #AdviceGang, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye guys!